planning and business planning firm Barth Calderon. Thank you for jumping on this episode of Wealth Protector TV. This is a good one because it is something that a lot of people wonder about when it comes to estate planning. And I'm going to show you the process of setting up an estate plan, talk a little bit about what it is, and this is going to be great. You're going to love this. So let's jump into it. Okay. First of all, let's talk a little bit about what exactly is an estate plan. It's sort of a lofty title, and you hear the phrase estate planning. Everyone says, okay, you got to be Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. You need an estate plan. You always think of billionaires and multimillionaires needing an estate plan. Certainly they do. But in reality, all of us have some sort of an estate that we need to take control of. And it's interesting because the majority of Americans still today, I think the number is around 60%, don't have any planning in place at all, estate planning. And those that do have estate planning in place, they have it so it's outdated or it wasn't done right. Their lives have changed, laws have changed, and their estate plan is old, and so it just doesn't work properly. And so, estate planning, maybe you own a house, you have children. Certainly, you have minor children, you need an estate plan. Maybe you own rental property. But the point is, no matter where you are, it's about taking control of your decision making. Think about it. This is our founder, Harry Barr, talks about this all the time. It's a great analogy. Talks about being the director of your own play. Think of a stage, and on that stage is it are all the people that are involved in your life, your loved ones, your children, your assets are on that stage, and you are the director of this play, and it's your life. And you have the choice of getting in there and deciding how all these people are involved, how they're integrated with each other, what happens with your kids, your assets, and you direct it. It's not just about dying, it's about taking control while you're alive. And so, um, you need to direct it and take control. And if you don't, then again, the courts and the government step in and they start handling things for you. Another great way to think about estate planning is that you know there are elements of it that can go into effect while you're still alive. A lot of people don't do estate planning because they think it's all about dying. Who wants to talk about dying? I certainly don't. It does cover that, but it's also about right now. And who's going to take care of your minor children if something happens? There's advanced medical directives. There's financial powers of attorney. There's beneficiary designations on certain accounts. There is really the in-depth discussion of how do kids receive assets from parents and when they can receive assets during your lifetime, and there are many good reasons for doing that in certain cases, for gifting assets to your kids. But how do you do it? Do you just give them assets outright, or do you give them assets in an asset protection trust so they receive it in a trust that protects the assets from their potential creditors, for example? So there's a lot of high level discussion that goes into estate planning. And what's important is understanding the components and how the pieces fit together. So I want to share my screen and uh, jump into the process of estate planning. So as you think about getting your estate plan in order, step one is choosing your team. What's important in choosing your team is somebody getting with somebody firm who will listen to you and ask the right questions. Because you can bang out an estate plan very easily today. You go online and do it for I don't know hundreds of dollars. Bang it out, you're done. And the problem there is people feel like they have it done. It's in place. They don't really put a lot of thought into it. There's nobody there that's asking thoughtful and important questions about their planning or taking it to the next level, about maybe gifting to kids and how do you get, rental properties and other things to kids, those questions aren't being answered and um, excuse me, addressed, and so it just isn't complete. And so you need to have somebody who can listen, ask the questions, and also a team that is going to be there for you in the long term. Because what happens a lot of times is set it and forget it mentality. Somebody bangs out an estate plan and moves on. A lot of firms are that way. They'll bang it out. Thank you, pay us, done, never hear from us again. Problem with that is life is not static and your life is going to change. What's in store for you down the road? Who knows? But your estate planning's got to be flexible, where it's designed to grow with you. Also, laws are not static. Laws are changing all the time. As a matter of fact, right now we've got the winds of change are howling with laws that will impact estate planning, and so laws change, and you've got to have your planning uh, change with you and with laws that are evolving over time. And so your planning's got to be done right, flexible, malleable so that it can change. And you've also got to have a firm that is proactive, where they're constantly reaching out, educating you, and you're dialed in to what's going on in the world that can impact your planning. And as your life changes, maybe you have more kids, you sell a business, you buy a business, you get into the investment property space, you want to start gifting shares of a business or an LLC, you bring on partners, all things that happen in your life, your planning needs to reflect that. And so, step one here is choosing your team. Make sure that you like the people, you get along personality wise, and they're very proactive. And and I also would say that there are different components involved in your state plan that come up, and some of the components involve obviously estate planning, but also asset protection, which is a separate discipline from estate planning. Asset protection is about guarding your assets from unforeseen liability, and estate planning and asset protection oftentimes need to be integrated with each other. So if you have a firm that's just doing estate planning and doesn't know much about asset protection, there could be missed opportunities. There are holes in your planning. Things aren't brought up that could be brought up for you. So you'll need to understand when you're doing your planning, okay, are there any asset protection components I need to be aware of? Of course, there's tax considerations. So tax issues come up. Is your team knowledgeable in taxes? Do they have a connection on the team? Do you have CPAs, tax attorneys? Those are very important issues to get involved. Also, financial planners. Estate planning can very much involve financial planning and really should. It's part of financial planning. And so, is there integration of that issue? And then, insurances come into play too when you're talking about assets, and how does insurance protect you? What's involved, whether it's life insurance or liability insurance, and those are pieces involved in planning. So is your team equipped and organized to make sure you got a comprehensive look at these things? And not that all those pieces come into play for everybody, but it needs to be a focus and covered in many cases. So choosing the team, very important. Step two is, once you have your team, is now, as we work it, it's gathering their information. And so again, uh, is your team helping you to understand what information needs to be gathered, asking the right questions, helping you to gather information? And that's an important step. And if there's a process in play, they're going to have this very tight, organized process of getting checklist questionnaires to gather information, get it all together, and help you do it. And then getting that over to the firm, through secure sites. and so that's always important. So the gathering information um, is critical. Step three, analyze the data. So once we bring in the information, gather the information, help you do that. Now it's analyzing, and this is not an inconsequential step. It's really, really important to understand what you own, how you own it, what is the long-term goal for what you own, and also, analyzing things like the relationships. You have your kids. Are your kids minors? Are they adults? What's going on with your kids? Are you bringing them in to the discussion of estate planning? And, are there special needs children that you have? And are some kids better with finances than others? As you're trying to think of trustees and people that act on your behalf, and maybe you're looking at your kids. And so, analyzing the data, understanding this, all the data points, and especially if you're a business owner, and maybe you have more sophisticated assets, and you have intellectual property, and rental property, crypto, things that need to be thought of and included in your estate plan. How do you handle those things? And a lot of times, maybe you're a solopreneur with a business. Maybe you're an Amazon seller. We have a lot of clients that are Amazon sellers, and it's just a one-person show, but they've got a really good business. So there's estate planning for business owners. How do you handle that? And if there's a business partner involved, how do you handle business partners and buy sell agreements, which are part of big picture planning? These are offshoots as you're doing your planning, that need to be talked about. And so you can see that it can get involved in a good way, but you've got to have a team that's analyzing that data, understands it, knows it. And you can see if there's a one man estate planner who's banging out an estate plan, isn't equipped to deal with other issues that may be involved with you can see where it could go sideways. Okay, so you're analyzing the data, very important. Step 4, sorry, is making recommendations. And this is not a one-way discussion. This is sitting down and having a discussion about the data, recommendations, observations, getting your input on how this all fits together. Again, dialogue is important. Your team taking time to have this discussion with you. So, and explaining, you've got to have somebody who can explain in terms that everybody can understand recommendations on your estate planning and how things work, how the advanced medical directives play out, financial powers of attorney, and the level of the both of those documents, because you can really get into detail about, okay, what really can happen with these documents. What are you allowing people to do? And there's a discussion there. And so the recommendations, that's a huge, huge step. And then step 5, of course, is uh, you're deciding and implementing. This is the execution of everything. And for us, we put together a draft, which we send out, soft copy draft, once we have this discussion, analyze data, get it out to you. You look at it, you'll have questions, and then we put together the final, which is a soft copy and a hard copy. How we work it, nice binder with your estate plan, and then the estate plan's got to be funded. This is a big issue. Is that you set up your plan, but you don't fund it, meaning getting assets, into the trust, identified by the trust. Otherwise, it's a waste. And what will happen is if you don't have your assets in funded into the trust, you're talking about probate, where those assets get probated, meaning it's an expensive court scenario, takes forever. Assets can be frozen in probate. Think if you had a business with a business partner, assets are getting frozen. So you've got to execute once the trust is done and make sure everything gets funded. It's all put together nice and tight. You got it. Now, once it's done, you have it. The go forward is making sure it's moving along with you, as I mentioned before. So Think about these steps of the estate plan. Very important. Do you have yours in place? Is it updated? Have all these pieces been talked about with you? Appreciate you listening. As always, reach out to us. There are ways to get in front of us. I'm going to put this up on the board here. If you want to get a complimentary planning assessment, text guard assets to that phone number, and you can pick a time, learn more about our complimentary assessment, and get one on one with an attorney at our firm to address your plannings. Doesn't matter if it's very simple, you need to start an estate plan. You need a will and a trust, medical directives, power of attorney, get those in place. You're just starting. Fantastic. We're here to help you and show you how that's done. Maybe you're more sophisticated. You own businesses, and now you're thinking, "Gosh, there's a lot of change going on. I need to get a refresher." Fantastic. We'll get you with one of our expert attorneys, asset protection, estate planning, business planning. So text guard assets to that phone number on the screen, and we'll get you set up. And continue to follow us here every Thursday. Weeks flying by, 9 a.m. California time. We're offering this value, putting this out there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.